I turned 61 that evening, and all I really wanted was a quiet dinner. Just a little warmth, a few stories, maybe some laughter with my son and his wife. Ben chose the restaurant, though I suspected Lana had the final say. One of those Portland places with exposed brick Edison bulbs and menus printed on recycled paper. The waiter called me boss, which made me feel ancient, not flattered. We hadn't even ordered drinks when Lana handed me a white gift bag stuffed with tissue paper fluffed to the ceiling. Inside was a baby onesie, soft cotton, printed with "Best Grandma Ever." My throat caught. "We thought it was time," she said, with that sweet, high-pitched tone she used when something big was coming, to start planning the nursery. I blinked. Nursery. Ben nodded and reached for his wine glass like it was a prop. "Yeah, especially now that we'll have more space." Before I could speak, he stood and tapped his spoon against the glass. "Can I have everyone's attention?" It was a small table, 6 of us in total, but the sound made the servers glance over. Lana was already filming. I saw the red record dot on her phone pointed straight at me. "Tonight's not just about celebrating my amazing mom's birthday," Ben said. "It's also about our growing family." He beamed. "We're moving into Mom's apartment. She doesn't need all that space anymore, and we've got a little one on the way." I didn't breathe. My fork hovered midair. "It's such a gift," Lana added, panning the camera toward me. "We're so lucky she said yes." They clinked glasses. I smiled because I didn't know what else to do. No one asked me, but I nodded. They raised their glasses. I lowered my guard. And just like that, I lost my home in front of a crowd. I placed the onesie on my kitchen table, like it might explain itself if I stared long enough. Best Grandma Ever. The tag still dangled. I hadn't even taken it out of the bag. I sat in the same chair I always used, the one closest to the radiator, the one Ben used to lean against while doing homework in middle school. That night, the silence in the apartment clung to me like fog. More space. That's what he said, as if the square footage had suddenly become theirs to divide. When did I agree? Had I nodded at some point in a conversation I don't remember? Or was my silence at dinner now a signature? I moved to the bookshelf still full of my husband's hardcovers and opened the drawer underneath. Legal folders. Utility bills. The kind of papers no one wants to keep, but you have to. I flipped through them until I found the medical binder. Pale green tabs labeled with dates I wish I could forget. 3 years ago. The pneumonia scare. A week in the hospital. I barely remember much of it, just white noise and breathing tubes. I kept seeing Ben's face by my bedside, reassuring, gentle, asking me to just sign this so he could help with insurance. I pulled out the form. There it was. Durable power of attorney. Signed by me. Dated during that week. His name typed neatly in the agent box. At the time, it felt like trust. Tonight, it looked like a loaded weapon. I emailed my lawyer with the subject line, "Is this still valid?" Her reply came at 7:43 a.m. the next morning. "If you never revoked it, then yes. Call me. We need to talk." He wasn't guessing. He wasn't asking. He was executing. She showed up unannounced, holding a to-go cup with my name spelled wrong in marker and a white gift bag dangling from her wrist. "Hazelnut cream, extra ice," she sang, like we were old friends meeting for brunch. "Thought I'd check in. You've been a little quiet." I didn't invite her in, but I didn't slam the door either, so she took it as an invitation. The bag held a bottle of prenatal vitamins. "We're hoping," she said, placing a hand flat against her stomach, too dramatically. Her face lit up in a practiced kind of way. "It meant so much that you gave us your place. We feel like it's a sign." I said nothing. Just watched her cross into my kitchen, open the fridge like it was hers, grab a sparkling water, and take a long sip without checking the label. No pregnant woman on earth was that casual. Then she started walking the apartment like a real estate agent, gesturing at walls, muttering things like open concept, and soft sage would brighten this hallway. When she paused at the hallway closet, she tapped the wall and murmured, "We could knock this out, make it feel more airy." I followed her as she drifted through my bedroom, then my sewing room. She stood in the doorway, nodding. "Nursery goes here, obviously. These stairs might get tricky for you soon anyway." The room swayed a little, but I kept still. Her purse sat on the counter, unzipped. When she went to the bathroom, I looked. Inside a manila folder labeled Apt 3A, pre-stage, floor plans, furniture placements, Zillow printouts. A sticky note that read, "Remove all drapes. Replace with sheer linen." She hadn't moved in. She was staging. She didn't want a home. She wanted a flip. And I was the old wallpaper she planned to peel off. It came without a knock. No doorbell, no text. Just the soft scrape of paper against tile while I was in the shower. I stepped out, still damp, and nearly slipped on the envelope. Manila. No return address. My name printed on the front in a font too formal for family. Inside was a preliminary transfer agreement, residential property. 3 names filled the top, mine, Ben's, and Lana's. Only one signature line remained blank. Mine. Attached was a note in Ben's voice, but typed like a business email. "No rush. Just need this signed before Friday to keep things on track with the bank. Thanks again, Mom." The bank. I sat on the edge of my bed with the document in my lap, my robe dripping onto the carpet. They weren't waiting for permission. They were applying for financing. I forwarded it to my lawyer with shaking hands. She called within minutes. "If you sign that even accidentally, it's over," she said. "And don't leave it out where they can take a photo. If it looks like you consented even briefly, they'll use that as leverage." That night, I started keeping everything in one place. Screenshots of texts, Lana's Instagram videos showing off her nursery in progress, notes in my handwriting grocery lists, birthday cards, even doodles, anything to timestamp that I was lucid alert and capable. I dated every page. I logged every visit. I began journaling what they said, what they wore, what I felt. Not for memory, for proof. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was strategy. They weren't just moving in, they were building a case to erase me one form, one fake smile at a time. I called Iris at 6:14 a.m. She didn't ask why. She just said, "Talk to me." We'd known each other since our first jobs in Seattle, me in the accounting office, her in commercial real estate. She was retired, now lived alone in a blue Craftsman, with a garden full of roses and a front door that stuck when it rained. I told her everything. From the dinner to the document under my door from the fake pregnancy, to the manila folder labeled like a development project. I left nothing out, not even the part where I nodded like a fool while Lana filmed my face. Iris didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said, "We're not going public with this. We're going quiet." She meant no listings. No photos online. No showings with open doors. Just whispers to private buyers who paid in cash and didn't ask questions. "You'll get a little less," she warned, "but it keeps them from contesting the sale before it closes." I said yes before she finished the sentence. Within 48 hours, she had a buyer. The cabin was in a lakeside retirement town in Washington, 2 states north. Modest 2 bedrooms, pale yellow, siding with a garden that needed love, and a screened porch that overlooked still water. It had a cracked patio and outdated cabinets. I didn't care. It had a lock and piece, and no Ben. The owner, a widower, agreed to sell off-market for cash. No mortgage, No contingencies. No questions. While Lana was posting nursery inspiration boards, I was wiring funds and scheduling movers for furniture I hadn't told anyone I was taking. I boxed my husband's tools, my heirloom dishes, a single photo album. They thought I was packing for a week. I was packing to vanish. The knock came hard, impatient, not neighborly. I didn't move. I watched from the hallway out of sight, the old floorboard creaking beneath my bare heel. Mom Ben's voice. Clipped. Measured. Open up. We need to talk. I waited. My heart thudded, but I stood still. Then I heard it, the soft scrape of metal in the lock. My old lock. The spare I'd given him years ago when he forgot his wallet during finals and swore he'd bring it back. He hadn't. But I had the locks changed 2 days ago. Click. Jiggle. Click. Silence. Then louder. Did you change the locks? Are you serious right now? No answer. A few seconds later, something slid under the door. I waited until his footsteps faded down the hall before picking it up. A white envelope. Heavy paper. No greeting. Just a typed letter from a law office I'd never heard of. This notice serves as formal intent to initiate guardianship proceedings in the state of Oregon on behalf of Benjamin Carter against his mother, Evelyn Carter, citing potential cognitive decline and financial vulnerability. I sat on the floor letter still in my hands. They weren't just mad. They were ready to take over. I called my lawyer and read the letter out loud. She was quiet until I finished. Okay, she said. They're going nuclear. We're going airtight. Within hours, we had a plan. She reviewed every message I'd saved, every journal page I'd scanned, every screenshot I'd taken. She had me record a video reading dates explaining my financial decisions, stating my name, and the sale agreement I'd already signed. No gaps, she said. No doubts. They weren't just pushing. They were preparing to declare me unfit. She came the next afternoon in full costume, hair curled mascara heavy, wearing a flowing cream cardigan that made her look fragile on purpose. She stood outside the building with her phone angled just right. I watched from behind the curtains, unseen. Sometimes family hurts you the most, she began, her voice cracking perfectly. We're expecting, and we're homeless. She changed the locks. She knew we had nowhere to go. She turned toward the door, my door, and let the silence sit. Then the tears came. Not loud, not messy. Just enough for sympathy. Just enough to edit with soft music later. By the time I checked online that evening, the video had nearly 6,000 views. Comments rolled in like a tide. How could a mother do this? Boomer entitlement at its worst. She's too old to be living alone anyway. Selfish. The hashtags: pregnant and pushed, out. Family betrayal. Grandma no more. Messages started flooding my phone. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Old coworkers. Even my sister. What's going on? Is this true? Why won't you help them? They need stability. You have more than enough. I didn't reply. I took screenshots. Every comment, every post, every message sent in concern that was really judgment in disguise. I emailed them to my lawyer that night with a single line. They're rewriting the story. Here's the script. I stayed silent on social media. No rebuttals. No defense. Just digital fingerprints in neat folders labeled by date saved to the cloud. Let them play their part. I didn't comment. I documented. Because in court, proof outlives pity. I moved out before sunrise. No goodbye. No forwarding address. Just 2 suitcases, 3 taped boxes, and Iris waiting outside in her truck with the engine already warm. The building was silent. I left my keys in a sealed envelope with the doorman and one final note inside the kitchen drawer. Everything here is clean, quiet, and ready. Take good care of it. She was good to me. I didn't look back. We drove north across the state line into Washington. Trees widened, roads narrowed. My shoulders loosened for the first time in months. The cabin sat tucked behind a wall of evergreens and soft dirt. Faded yellow siding, a cracked porch, a chimney with stories in it. No cameras, no intercom, no Lana with her phone out. The buyer closed that morning. All cash, no contingencies. Iris handled the final walkthrough with quiet efficiency. She texted me one word afterward: done. By late afternoon, Ben and Lana showed up. The new owner, a young woman named Mira, called Iris right after. Said a couple was at the door banging, demanding entry, claiming they lived there. Mira didn't answer, just watched from the upstairs window and called building security. Later, Lana posted a story from outside the complex captioned, "She sold it out from under us. Without warning. No soul." I saved the clip. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow but free, like slipping out of a sweater that had grown too tight to breathe in. That evening, I unpacked only one box, the photo albums. I placed a picture of me and my husband on the mantel above the fireplace, then sat on the floor with a cup of tea and listened to the wind tapping the windows like it was checking in. They knocked on a door that no longer belonged to them or to me. 2 days after the sale closed, I walked into a law office tucked between a bakery and a feed store, in a town where no one knew my name and no one cared who I used to be. The attorney's name was Gwen. Mid-60s, sharp-angled glasses, boots with steel toes. The kind of woman who didn't flinch when the world acted ugly. I liked her instantly. I want to rewrite everything I said. My will beneficiaries, medical directives, financial authorizations, scrub it clean. She glanced over her glasses. Children. I paused. Not anymore. She didn't blink. Just picked up her pen. For 2 hours we undid decades of assumptions. We removed Ben from every line that had once been written with trembling hope. Lana had never made it onto the page, but now she'd never have the chance. The cabin's sole ownership. The savings and pension assigned to a new trust. Even the life insurance policy I used to tell Ben was for emergencies gone from his reach. In its place, the Quiet Exit Fund, a nonprofit co-founded with Iris to help senior women escape family-based financial or emotional coercion. A small start, but real. No contest clause. Gwen asked. "Make it airtight," I said. "If they challenge it, they get nothing. Not even a voicemail." She looked up. "Want to leave them anything?" A letter A sentence. I shook my head. They've already rewritten the story. Let them live in their version. I'm done providing the ending. That night, I returned to the cabin and stood on the porch while the wind curled around the trees like it had something to say. I lit a candle, wrote a single-page letter to myself, and tucked it inside my grandmother's cookbook. You left. You didn't wait to be erased. You wrote yourself back in. He said I was too old for space, so I carved a new one with no room left for him. It came in the mail-certified envelope, bold lettering, return address from Multnomah County Court. I opened it with scissors and steady hands. Ben had filed a formal guardianship petition, claiming cognitive decline, unfit to manage finances, at risk of exploitation. He painted me as vulnerable, confused, isolated. He didn't mention that I had sold my apartment myself, or that the funds had gone into a protected trust, or that I'd created a foundation while he was still filming fake baby announcements with Lana. I forwarded the petition to Gwen, and within an hour she called. "We're not just going to defend this," she said. "We're going to bury it." That same afternoon, we submitted everything. My recorded video testimony dated time-stamped with my ID visible. Handwritten journals from the last 6 months, each entry dated and scanned. Screenshots of every message, every post, every attempt by Ben or Lana to pressure, manipulate, or shame me. Even a notarized affidavit from Iris, who witnessed every step of the sale and relocation. At the hearing, I wore gray slacks and a crisp white shirt. Not frail, not fragile, just focused. Ben showed up with a lawyer who looked younger than his marriage. Lana sat 2 rows back, wearing a maternity dress that hung strangely on her still flat stomach. The judge read everything, asked 2 questions, then looked at Ben and said, "This doesn't meet the threshold for guardianship. Not even close. Case dismissed." Lana gasped. Ben didn't look at me, just shoved the papers into his briefcase like they'd betrayed him too. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. Because this was never about winning. It was about finishing what they started on my terms. I wasn't unfit. I was prepared. And now I was legally untouchable. It showed up on a Saturday evening. A silver SUV at the end of the gravel road engine, humming while the sun dipped behind the trees. I watched from the kitchen window, heart steady. Ben stepped out first, jacket pressed, holding a bottle of wine. Lana followed in low heels and soft makeup, one hand dramatically resting on her belly. No one else came that far out here. It wasn't a visit. It was a performance. I didn't open the door. They knocked light at first, then louder. Mom Ben called. "We just want to talk. We brought something." I didn't move. I kept the lights low and waited behind the curtains. Lana's voice followed, brittle and cracking. "You're really going to shut us out. Shut your grandchild out." Then came the blinking red light. Her phone was out again, pointed toward the porch. We tried. "She won't even open the door," she whispered to her audience. She chose silence over family, over her grandchild. I stood behind the door, still watching their silhouettes. After 15 minutes, they left the wine bottle on the step, wrapped with a bow. Next to it, a flat white gift box. Inside was a framed sonogram and a handwritten card. "Can we start over? For the baby. A and B." But I'd seen that image before, months ago, on Lana's vision board post. It was a stock photo. Cropped, filtered, repurposed. I poured the wine down the sink. I left the sonogram in the trash with the ribbons still curled. And then, for the last time, I opened my phone, scrolled to Ben's contact, and deleted it. No message. No anger. No goodbye. I didn't slam the door. I just made sure they never had a key again. I named it on a rainy Monday sitting across from Gwen, with my hands wrapped around a chipped ceramic mug. The Quiet Exit Fund. No loud declarations. No drama. Just a clean path for women like me to walk away with their dignity intact. By Friday, the paperwork was filed. The fund was live. We'd already secured our first applicant, an 82-year-old woman in Spokane, whose daughter had drained her savings and left her in a rental with no heat. Iris sent her a grocery card and a hotel room that same night. That morning, the mail came with a cream envelope, the kind that usually carries wedding invitations or regrets. Inside was a folded letter, handwritten in neat, unhurried cursive. It was from Melissa, my niece, the only one who'd reached out without judgment. Aunt Evelyn. I saw everything. I just didn't know how to say it. But I need you to know something. You didn't lose your family. You chose yourself. That takes more strength than any of them will ever understand. If I ever become half the woman you are, I'll count it as a win. Love, Melissa. I pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a pine cone. That evening, I sat barefoot on the front porch of the cabin, a cup of mint tea steaming in my hand. No cameras, no notifications, just the sound of the lake tapping gently against the shore, and the wind shifting through the trees like a sigh of relief. For the first time in years, I didn't brace myself for the next thing. There was no next thing, only here, only now. They told me I didn't need that space anymore. So I made room for peace and left them out of my future